What up, Naughty Steppers? It's Connor Whitmore here again with another review for you on the Nawtystep channel. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the new EP from Peekaboo, released on Deadbeats, Wrecking Ball. LA-based Detroit native Peekaboo is back with his first EP since last July's Maniac, a quick follow-up to the Imposters project released just a few months prior to that, both of which ensured that 2018 really was his breakthrough year in bass music. The previous year had seen him release his debut Revenge EP and collaborate with Bass Nectar, definitely not things to be sniffed at. However, in producing Maniac and Imposters for the Wakan label, he not only showed us how far his production had come, but also established a signature sound that has seen his rise in the last year be nothing short of meteoric. That style being the experimental, freeform bass approach popularized by the Wakan label, taking bass music down slower, weirder, more spacey and outer-worldly avenues, perfected by Peekaboo to the extent that bass fans of all appreciation have become hooked on his entrancing, mind-numbing sound, bringing something extremely fresh to the table and with the top-class execution to boot. And so coming into the Wrecking Ball EP, whilst I was worried that he wouldn't be able to reach that insane standard again, my overwhelming feeling was one of excitement as to what direction he would take his music in for this latest project. Whether he would keep to the freeform style or change things up slightly, either of which I would have welcomed considering the quality of his production. And I think it's fair to say that with Wrecking Ball, we see Peekaboo dip back into that freeform style almost entirely. An EP that I wouldn't say has the same conceptual or thematic appeal as his previous two projects, but which still oozes class in its construction and has that now distinctive Peekaboo feel to it. Similar to Maniac and Imposters, Wrecking Ball is very consistent in its quality, but there are tracks I prefer out of the four. The most ear-catching number for me would have to be track 2, Whistleblower. For starters, you have the fuzzy rave electro opening that really grabs your attention from the opening few seconds. And the drops here I find to be the most composed on the EP. The whistle sounds really own the space they're in. And in coupling with the very well cut percussion, it's as if there's a load of various insects swarming around you. I also love the lo-fi skittish notes for the second drop, an amazing development where the respect for space and timing is just spot on. I would have liked a break before each drop to give extra impact going into them, but honestly that's the only drawback I have with this track. It's Peekaboo at his simple but effective best. Either side of that, we have tracks 1 and 3, Wrecking Ball and Hypnotendies respectively. Hypnotendies, I know, a very interesting track name indeed. The title track gets the EP off to an exhilarating start with frantic tribal drums and old school wubs lingering in the background, really ramping up the pace in anticipation for the drops, which initially appear relatively empty for him. However, there are some very juicy sounds in both, the double drop slightly weirder, yet also more sure of itself. More of note in the title track is the progressions to both the first and double drop, where he really comes into his own. The light chomping sounds, the beep effects, the little changes from one progression to the other, it's just so fucking good. Track 3, Hypnotendies, is another of his more subtle tracks that progresses well over its course, revealing more over time. I do wish that the warped intro was a bit longer, and the main part of the first drop does drone on a bit, but he always has those little synth and percussion techniques to pick the track up, and that's most noticeable here. The interspersing sounds and samples are brilliant here, becoming more present and alive as it goes on. A gradual unraveling that gives the feeling of this track slowly leaving its mark on you, almost creepy. And to close we have Swingin', the main drops of which are probably the messiest and most convoluted that I've heard from him yet. But again, it's another song of his that has so much else on offer that you almost forget those off moments. In a slightly quicker tempo, he provides just as many incredible sounds, genuinely difficult to believe. The shimmering lo-fi wubs I am particularly obsessed with, important also considering some parts of the drops try to do too much. I also like how it's the longest track by far to close the EP. The midsection is an essential moment of reflection here for the listener. But overall, the attention to detail in this track, apart from those couple of moments, is just off the chart and frankly hard to wrap your head around. Which I think you could say for the EP as a whole, to be honest. For the most part, it is another freeform bass masterclass. Some of it is undoubtedly less subtle and seems eager almost to prove a point, less confident in what it's doing, but I think those moments are swamped by the ones that work, and there are plenty of them across the 4 tracks. As I said earlier, not so much an EP with a theme or concept behind it, like with Imposters and Maniac. Not as much a project of memorable ideas, the music not as entrancing and mind-numbing as usual for him, but I feel it's more impactful. The sound is more alive, with even more surprises and directional changes than before. Again, even the tracks I don't like as much comparatively, I still like a fair bit in themselves. Any bad I have to say is still much better than most other stuff out there. That's the standard that he's set now, and honestly I can see myself enjoying this EP over time as much as the previous 2. I'm happy he's carried on with this freeform based style for the time being, because it is just so devilishly good. He is an expert in bringing sounds together well, nothing out of place here pretty much for the whole thing. An amazing definition to his sound, so fresh, constantly keeping you on your toes ideas wise. Once more, the percussion is so on point throughout that you never notice it's there. It blends in because the execution is so spot on. Just unlike anything else out there as a mix of sound, style and quality, completely unique. He really does stand out. The detailed perfectionist that the bass scene was crying out for, and I must say the most enjoyable multi-track experience I've had so far this year. What it means for him going forward, I'm not quite sure, whether he will experiment with genre and tempo in the future, but if he keeps this quality of production up, then we really will be talking about one of the best producers in this scene, no question. Now, in terms of my favourite from the EP, then I think I would have to go with Whistleblower. This track reminds me most of what Peekaboo is best at, very simple and very effective, top notch. And in terms of recommendations, if you enjoyed this EP, then I would just look at past Peekaboo EPs, and beyond that, stuff from the Wakan label for an extra dose of weird experimental bass. And so that is that, guys, for another review on the Nawtystep channel, this time of the new EP from Peekaboo, Wrecking Ball. Thank you very much, and as always, for tuning in. What did you guys make of Wrecking Ball? Do you have a favourite track from the 4? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this review, then be sure to give it a big old thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, hitting the notification bell along the way. Nawtystep is all about coverage of bass music across a wide variety of genres, from EP and album reviews to top 5s and top 10s, rave footage, opinion pieces, and more. So again, if that's something that interests you, then consider subscribing. For some other Peekaboo related videos, check out the link next to my head somewhere. If you're not following Nawtystep across social media yet, links to all of those are in the description box down below. And lastly, if it's naughty, then you know, guys, so be sure as always to keep it naughty and stay safe. And I shall see all of you legends in the next one. Peace out.